Hi everybody, welcome back to the Inspiration Station. My name is Debbie. On today's layout, I will be getting 19 photos onto a double page layout. I don't often do double pages, so this is going to be a little bit different for me. I've selected my photos and I will be working from this sketch from Allison Davis. I can't show you the actual sketch because it is paid content, but it's part of her month in review packet, sketch number 11, I believe that said. I did make a couple of changes to the sketch, one of those changes being that I changed the size of some of the photos. On the sketch there were a lot of 2x2 photos, and I changed these from 2x2 to 2x4 so that I could keep them with the same aspect so that they were still taller and I didn't have to cut down as much of the detail. I am going to be using this wood grain paper that's an older one from Simple Stories. I believe the line was called So Happy Together. It was a family line and I just love this blonde wood grain. I also picked out this green plaid or gingham paper from Echo Park New Day. I had the larger size and I loved it, but the small one is better for scale. So I'll be using that to fill in a few of the squares. And I also selected these puffy stickers that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I think they're just adorable. I'm not sure how I'm going to use them, but it was something that I had. I also found this Easter basket in my stash. I don't end up using it, but I thought I might try to. It's really old and I wanted to use it up, but it just didn't end up working out. So I'm going to lay out the photos here. One of the other changes that I made to the sketch is the original sketch had only three, I believe, 3 or 4. Yeah, only 3 of the 4x4 photos, and I ended up with 5. So there were some changes to that, and it worked out fine. I just didn't have as many places to embellish, I guess. I had to do a little bit of rearranging on the photos, so they were a little bit different than the layout that Allison had. So I'm just laying these out, trying to get an idea of where they will go. There's a lot of photos, so it takes me a few minutes. I do have some of those photos covered up the faces for privacy's sake. I have some family members who don't want to be on YouTube, and I'm fine with that. I just want to use the photos, but also respect their privacy. So that's what those little blue circles are. So we've got it laid out. I've decided that I want to gut this paper because I do love it and I only have one sheet left. So I'm going to do that. And I'm looking at the placement, moving things around because I would like to try and get those, the accent squares into a visual triangle. And you'll see later I actually remove one photo to accommodate that. So I gutted out the wood grain and I'm going to glue it down here. It's a little fiddly to work with when you cut so that it has the 3 sides instead of just cutting the center out. But I wanted to save as much of that paper as I could. So using a T-square, I'm going to center that up on the paper, giving a 1-inch margin. And I like the way that looks. So we'll do the other side here, get that down. One of the things I noticed, just kind of as an aside, when I use a T-square ruler, somehow I always manage to turn it so that it's facing the metric side, and I end up flipping it around every single time. I don't know why. It's sort of like putting the USB into a port. You always get it wrong the first time. That's how I am with my T-square ruler. But anyway, we're going to get that other side down, put those together. I like the way that that looks. Now I do want to have some differentiation, some space between the photos without actually putting any space. So I have these sanding discs from Tim Holtz that fit on his ink applicator tool, and I had never used them before, but they're really pretty handy if you would like to sand smaller items. And in order to get a little bit of detail or separation of my photos, I'm just sanding the edges so that the white from the center of the paper comes through. And that way, when they're stacked next to each other, they will look like separate photos rather than as if they were printed as a collage. So I've just sanded the edges and it does make a little bit of a mess. So I have my mat there from scrapbook.com. So bringing back that T-square, and I think I'm going to flip it around again, probably, to get those lined up. These photos are going to be lined up 1 inch from the edges of each. So there you go. I flipped that around again so that I could see the inch markings. And I'm going to start putting those down. I do have to adjust them as I go because I use a trimmer to trim out my photos, and they're not always exactly the same size. So even though I try to get them to 2x2 and 2x4 so that they fill up the right amount of space, they're never exact. They could be just a little bit off on one and it throws the whole line off. So you'll see as I put these down, when I get to that top row, that the 2 photos on the outside of the one I'm putting down now are just a little bit taller than the one in the middle. And I don't know, it just drives me crazy to see that little bit of difference. It's probably not noticeable to anybody else, but it is to me. When I put that one down, I see that the middle one is a little bit shorter, so I do take them off and go and trim them just a little bit. And I will finish lining up the photos on this side, and then I'll move over to the other side. While I'm doing that, I would like to ask you, if you enjoy this, to please give me a thumbs up on this. It really helps YouTube to promote my channel to other scrapbook enthusiasts. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. Leave me a comment, and if you've subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't, please do. I truly appreciate each and every one of you that comments and subscribes. It really does make me feel good. So getting back to these photos, I'm going to put those back down and line them up. I tried to speed this page up a little bit more just because it's very repetitive. So I'm sorry if it's a little shaky, or for some reason the camera tended to change the focus a little bit as it was going, and it's more noticeable when you speed the video up. So I apologize for that. Okay, so all of my photos are on. I'm going to bring in those gingham squares, and I had that little square journaling block that I was going to use. That ends up leaving later, but here I'm just using some striped paper, which is kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it, like a trademark of Allison Sketches. She uses a lot of striped strips that are in 1/4 inch widths on her sketches. So I just brought that in to add that. You'll see I removed one photo and replaced it with a gingham square because I did want to try and get that visual triangle of the green on the page. So I brought in some of the stickers from matching sticker sheet and played around with how I wanted them to go. Then I realized that this layout did have stitching on it. Allison had stitching around the outside, and so I went to my box of embroidery thread and just tried to match up some of the photos, the colors rather, to the photos or to the papers, and found a few choices that matched that little title card there. And I just spread them out like this to try and get an idea of what they would look like once they are going around the photos. And I immediately took the purple away, the lavender, because I'm just not a purple person. So the white was a contender, and the gold and the peach. So I had to make a decision. I ended up choosing the peach. So I'm going to, again, just checking to see how I like that. And then I am going to, I looked at the sketch and realized that she did the stitching around the outside of that, what would be that wood frame. I decided to do it outside the photos rather than outside the mat. I just thought it framed the photos a little bit better. So I pulled out my piercing mat and my pokey tool, and I drew lines with a ruler to line them up. Even with the lines, I still don't get it exact. I don't know. But it's homemade, so it doesn't really matter, right? It looks homemade. After doing the stitching around the outside, I decided that I wanted to also stitch on the gingham squares. I thought that would look nice. Now where I have the title block on the other page, I just did the top and the bottom of the sticker. What I'm doing here is adding my journaling, and you'll see I did get rid of that journaling block I had originally. I didn't think it went well with the stickers I had chosen, so I just printed on that piece of sort of peach colored paper and put it on top of a gingham square. So here I am laying out a bunch of the stickers and puffies that I had chosen, trying to get an idea of how I wanted them. And I will start to adhere them to the page. I think taking off the backing of those foam squares is just, it takes the most amount of time. Sometimes I have trouble getting those off. So I did raise a few things up on foam. I was looking for a particular bunny. I thought that on those strips that they had them facing in both directions, but I guess only some of them they duplicated. So whatever bunny I was looking for, I didn't have. So I had to make some changes. And here I am adding the date with these tiny little number stickers, and I could not find my tweezers at the time, so I'm using the tip of my scissors to try and move those around. I did eventually find them, and I ended up using them, I think, for the enamel dots or something, but I'm going to stick down those puffy stickers. I did have to lift that basket up because it was on top of the phrase that I used foam for. And just add a couple more of those little puffy stickers. Now on the sketch, the embellishing was in the upper left corner and the lower right. So I decided to build a cluster up here. I didn't want to cover up that photo, and I had some pretty large pieces. There wasn't a lot of room there, but I did manage. I cut down one of those flowers. Some of those came from an embellishment pack from Rosie Studio. Others on there are stickers from the sticker sheet. And the little bunny I fussy cut from that bunny paper that I showed earlier. So yeah, those are going to get put together into a cluster. I fooled around with it a little bit, as you do when you're building a cluster. And yeah, so I'm going to get those stuck together. I did adhere everything down, and then I went back to the sticker sheet to find something to fill in. When you see I put this bunny down, there's kind of a space over to the left that I felt it needed something else. So I did go back to the sticker sheet and grab one more sticker. Put those little guys down and move them around. Yeah, so to the left of that bunny, I felt it still needed something. So I went back to the sticker sheet and picked up some flowers that were a little bit like a lavender color and filled that space in, and I thought that looked a little bit better. So this is just about done. I think here I'm going to go in, going in with some enamel dots. They were sort of cream color, pale yellow. I just added them around the two clusters that I had, just for a little added detail. And I think this is where I finally found my tweezers, so I could move some of those around. Change out that little one there for a bigger one, and it kept scooting away from me. So there's the tweezers. I don't know what happened to them earlier. They just get buried on my desk, I guess. Anyway, that's it. That's the layout. I have a couple of stills coming up so you can see a little more detail. I hope you enjoyed this. Please visit me again on the next video and let me know what you think. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.